I hope you are safe and I hope you're having a good day. One of our viewers didn't have such a good day just about a week ago. She had a situation in which her sister adopted a new dog, and she wanted to invite her sister over to her house to allow her new dog to play with her existing dog, but she read on the internet that before you do that, you should take the dogs to a neutral territory and let them meet and greet there. And if that goes well, then everything will be fine at your home. Well, she did exactly that. She and her sister met at a dog park, and they allowed the dogs to play for a little while, and everything went fine, absolutely fine. Then she invited her sister over to her house, and within about 2 minutes of the sister's dog being in the home, there was a gigantic fight, and there were a few injuries involved there. So I want to cover this because we shouldn't let our guard down, and here's why. Number one, when you take your dog to a neutral territory, well, it's only neutral if it's a poor habitat. And we've talked about this in the past, a poor habitat. What is a poor habitat? It has no resources. So in other words, if you take the dog there to meet, this can become a rich habitat in the blink of an eye if this park area, for example, has a bunch of toys or it has play equipment that the dogs enjoy playing on, and maybe they want to take possession of. There could be food scattered around, treats that people are using for training or just to play with their dogs. A poor habitat can turn into a rich habitat in the blink of an eye. So be very careful. Again, dogs don't know your property lines. No one handed them a deed that they read and signed off on. They simply govern their behavior by the habitat or the environment in which they find themselves. And I've also said in the past that dominance and submission is always found within a context. What's going on at this particular moment? What is worth fighting for? What is worth dominating you for? Why do I need to do this? So going to a neutral territory, if your dog gets along fine there with a particular dog, then I always say there's no guarantees when it comes to behavior. But all that proves is that there's probably a high likelihood that they'll continue to get along as long as the habitat remains poor. No one wants to defend and exert the time, energy, and resources to defend a poor habitat. So they got along fine here. Nothing was going on. Nothing. But then all of a sudden, the sister's dog was brought into what we call a rich habitat. Very rich habitat. Yes, sir. In fact, in this thing is where I have my food. This is where my bed is. This is where my pack lives. This is where my toys are. This is where I get to enjoy those occasional chews. This is a very rich habitat, very worth defending. And then when it comes to that, if this dog is even going to share with the sister's dog, then again, keep in mind, there's only two strategies involved here. There's the hawk strategy and there's the dove strategy. So if you come walking in here into my rich habitat and I don't feel like sharing with you, meaning I'm the existing dog, it's my habitat, then I'm either going to employ the hawk strategy, which is I'm going to immediately attack you. And that's what happened. You know, I dug into the story just a little bit more, and once the sister arrived with her dog, there was an initial stiff meeting at the door. Warning sign number one. But they thought, okay, well, they kind of did that at first at the park, and then they were fine. Well, the dogs did. They wandered down the hallway, and guess what? Guess where the fight took place? In the kitchen. What's in the kitchen? Food. There was no food on the ground, but the food was in the cabinets. The pantry's in the kitchen. That's where the food comes from. That's where my dog bowls are. That's where I eat. And that's exactly where the fight occurred. That's kind of like going into a wolf's territory. You have what's called the home range. And then you have in the center here, the denning area, the core of the home range. Oh my gosh, what happens when these wolves that occupy this territory encounter other wolves cutting across, taking a straight line across their territory? What happens here is not even close to what happens here. I catch you out here, maybe I try to run you off. I catch you anywhere near this, this is where the water is, this is where the food is, and by golly, if this is where my offspring are, it's not enough to kill you. I'm going to eviscerate you. You won't even be able to get a DNA sample. So again, this is what happens when animals come into rich territories, into the core of the home range. That's what happens. So always be on your guard with that. Because again, if they want to defend it, they're only going to defend it one of two ways. That's either the hawk strategy, and that's an immediate attack, or they may try, because the dove strategy has two options. Option A, flee. I guarantee you the dog that's defending this is not going to flee. Or display. And display means, okay, maybe I'm going to growl at you and say, just so you know, I enjoyed your company at the park, but you're standing here in my kitchen, and you need to back off. Now, if the other dog is capable of interpreting that, it may back off because there is no food there. But go all the way back here, go back about 3 weeks ago. Within a millisecond, many things are happening that will determine the outcome of that situation. One, there's an assessment. What is your resource holding potential? In other words, the visiting dog. Can you hold that? If I want it, can I take it from you? And this dog, of course, is sizing you up. Can you take that from me? So there's a real quick evaluation going on. Again, that fast. Also to determine my fighting experience. What kind of weapons do I have? What's my fighting ability? And how badly do I want this? All of that comes into account. So all that being said, is it all doom and gloom? You know, should you never allow your dogs to go meet at a park or a neutral territory and then bring them into your home? No, you should. It's just that the information that our viewer friend gathered from the internet was incomplete. It didn't go as deep as it needs to go. It didn't outline the possibilities of what could happen and why they could happen. I'm always going to advocate, go meet here. Familiarity is wonderful. And if you play while you're here, well, remember, there is no such thing as pure play. Not with dogs, not even with humans. It's always competitive. And nature gave us all play to learn the fighting abilities, the experience, the skill set, the capabilities of what could be one day a potential opponent, a competitor. So she gave us play so that not everything would always be fought over with fang and claw. Hey, go learn. So if I take my dog to a poor habitat and allow it to play with another dog, it may learn through its own self-discovery. Whoa, this dog I'm playing with, oh, he's rough, and he's strong, and he's determined. Oh my gosh, can someone stop the play? This guy's killing me. So now bring that animal. I've learned a whole lot about that animal. I hope I don't ever have to fight that animal. Bring that animal into here, and I might say, well, you know, I did have a really good breakfast this morning, so I'll tell you what, I'll let you be in here. Absolutely. So I'm always going to advocate, go to a poor habitat. And now listen to me one more time. It's only poor if it doesn't have anything of value in it. It has no value. Make sure you sterilize it. Keep it sterile. Look for toys. Look for tennis balls that were thrown. All of these things could ignite immediately into competitive aggression, turning poor into rich. And once it turns rich, oh, now it's worth fighting over. Number two, once you've done this, when you bring the dogs into your home, always assume that your home is a rich habitat for any existing dogs that you have in your home. When you bring them in there, avoid hot zones. Don't let dogs go near kitchens or the garage or the back patio or anywhere that you feed them. They stay away from there. And you do that either through training, you do it with a long leash, you just don't allow unfamiliar dogs to go into hot zones. It's not a forever thing, but it's not a one and done thing. You can't just take what happened at a poor habitat and say, oh, they like each other. They played, so they must love each other. They must enjoy each other's company. They're going to get along just fine. Well, unfortunately, our viewer friend found out the hard way. That's not what happens. So be on guard. Avoid hot zones. And I do mean it. Avoid them like the plague. Do not let these dogs get near a hot zone. Of course, sterilize your house. Toys. If there's no food, well, then maybe toys we're fighting over. Put up the bed. If you keep a bed downstairs or upstairs or whatever for your dog, don't let the dogs go near that bed. You need to have this dog come over probably about 3 or 4 times and slowly, under very controlled conditions, start to introduce them into the hot zone areas. But again, minus the very obvious and very valuable resources. And over time, it should work out. They've had plenty of time to assess each other, know their resource holding potential, fighting experience, fighting abilities, so on and so forth, value up, value down on habitats. And now it should be okay. So be careful out there, guys. Tomorrow, I'm going to talk about when it does go south. How do you break up the dog fight? Because our viewer got hurt breaking up that dog fight. Unfortunately, she did that wrong as well. But hey, everyone survived. Everyone's fine. Now let's learn from it and don't make those same mistakes again moving forward. Okay, so tune in for tomorrow. I'm going to show you how you should properly break up a dog fight that occurs, especially in your rich habitat. Okay, guys, if you found this beneficial, please share this one, because I'm telling you, this happens a lot. Please share it. Send it out there to everyone. And if you have your own question and your own situation that's occurred to you, please share it with me. Because then, with your permission, I'm going to share it with everybody else. And this is how we do it. This is how we pay this thing forward. So at the end of the day, no one ever gets caught off guard like this happened here. You with me? All right, guys, that's it for today. I'll catch you tomorrow. Tune in, learn how to break up a dog fight.